All right, I believe we're on. Guys, how's it going? This is BBB coming at you with my main man, Boomer. Boomer, what's the good word?
Not much these days. It had a few days off, so very relaxed.
Can't argue with that. We're going to be coming at you making a two-table video from the 51 6 Max here on Stars. And both of us have a copy of the video up in front of us. So we'll be mostly playing through it, every now and then scrolling back to catch a good hand and so on. Hope you guys at home enjoy it. Boomer, by the way, his name is Andrew, but I just call him Boomer, Boombot, Boomball, whatever. He pretty much calls me you suck and things like that. So it should be a good time. You know, that's such an old joke. I don't know if anyone's going to laugh, but whatever. I'm going to go ahead and say, tell me a little bit about your HUD display and so forth, and then we'll start the playback.
Okay, the HUD's fairly standard Holdem Manager HUD. Taking you from the top, I've got VPIP, pre-flop raise, and attempt to steal. Below that, I've got folded small blind to steal, folded big blind to steal, and 3-bet. Below that, aggression factor and aggression frequency. Below that, 3 stats you probably don't see that much on HUDs, and to be honest, they might be a bit more useful for those who've done a lot of data mining. It's folded to flop continuation bet, folded to turn continuation bet, and turn continuation and makes turn continuation bet. And the final line is went to showdown and won at showdown.
All right, so you got a lot of stats, and I think this kind of illustrates the trend for those of you at home. Boomer's a very savvy, tech-oriented kind of guy, and every video I touch pretty much explodes. So we're going to kind of see which one of us can control the flow of this video as far as me making it melt down and him salvaging it and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and start the playback here, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Thanks for watching ahead of time, by the way. I'll say thanks for watching at the end also. It'll be pretty sweet. All right, here we go with the playback. And it looks right away on the right table like you have the toppest pair, which is always nice.
Yeah, especially on a table like this one.
You got a nice loose passive table here on the right, pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much. Tables averaging out at about 55 VPIP and 1 PFR, so there's not a huge amount of aggression going on here.
Briefly on the left table, it looks like it's a good table, but the fish are mostly to your left.
Yeah, that's a problem that can come out when you start short games. As you can see, the guys who are to my right, even though they're very tight, they've got low pre-flop raises. So when I initially looked at the table when there were only 2 or 3 players playing, it's like, oh sweet, no pre-flop raising. Until suddenly the guys on my left jump down and they're the more loose aggressive players. Think, oh, what have I got myself into here?
Check out this hand here. I like your pre-flop open. You flop the toppest pair. Turn the guy donks into you, and you immediately call. You've got top pair on the flush draw, which is great. River, I like this value bet. I think it's a good value bet. The guy looks loose and bad. You get called by a worse hand.
Yeah.
What kind of note would you take on this? Like that he donks a scare card, or?
Yeah, I think that's basic. I think that is the note that I basically take on the guy at that point in time. There's, I mean, we see he turns up with 7-3 there. I mean, obviously, I don't know what his motivation there really is behind donking, because it's obvious I'm not folding anything better than him.
I mean, it's possible you might fold some kind of lower pair, like if you had a pocket pair below the ace and the queen. But, I mean, this guy seems so weird that I doubt you'd even do that in the first time against him.
No. I mean, do you think there's ever any merit to raising there on the turn?
Not particularly, because, I mean, you don't want him to fold his bluffs or his crap, obviously. You want him to keep, I mean, I guess to him it's kind of a combination of semi trying to scare you off, and he has a pair as well. You know, I don't want to try and get into this guy's head, because I would, you know, if I were able to do that, I'd be better at poker. But, I mean, basically, I think, not that it's way ahead, way behind, but you've got a good pair you're showing down. You've got the flush draw. You don't want to fold him off of his misses and his total air. And you don't really want to get supercharged a lot of bets if every now and then he has something and you bet 3 bets.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably play that the same versus almost anybody, to be honest with
you. Yeah. I mean, the moment he checks the river there, he never has an ace unless he's like picked up 2 pair and is trying to get in some sort of super tricky check raise, but that's not going to happen that often.
Yeah. Here's a limp pot with 5-4 here, and let's see. Not a great flop, obviously. Gets checked through. Check. I mean, I've been playing a lot of heads up lately, and I might have bet on some streets there, but against this really loose and aggressive guy, what do you think about that?
I wasn't humongously enamored with the idea of it, just because I mean the pot's very small for one thing. I mean, if I'm betting the turn or whatever, I'm pretty much betting pot for one thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he ever folds anything. He doesn't fold anything better ever, I don't think. And there's only really a picked up 3 that I'm getting value out of, I think, there. Certainly.
Yeah, you're right. The pot is just so small that even if it were a raised pot pre-flop, that might change things a little bit. But such a tiny pot that you're right that we're not really getting value out of very many things. I just lately have been sort of in the mindset of, oh my gosh, I have a pair,
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah. I just didn't see anything. I just didn't see value there, really.
It's probably results oriented since we know he has clean afterwards. But here's an interesting pot. I think it's gonna. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely gonna get in here on the right. Kind of talk me through this pot.
That's these 7-6 handers now.
Yeah, I'm at about 405 in the video.
Got it here. Yeah, got it. Basically, here in the big blind, the guys who's opened on the button is fairly tight, but the 2 limpers are behind are both sort of, they're both 0 PFR. So I think danger of a limp re-raise is completely, it's negligible here. So I'm effectively getting 9-1 on my big blind call. So
oh yeah, let me scroll back a little bit to the pre-flop position. Just see where I should get into the video here. Okay, so I'm at about 4 minutes 1 second in the video.
Okay.
Look,
So,
I think pre-flop is certainly a call, definitely.
Yeah. And basically, interesting flop that came down here, and one thing that came into my mind is that yes, this guy's tight, but he's really 5-way. He's not under any obligation at all to bet a flop like that because he's getting peeled so often on that flop. There's just so many draws, and I don't think that he might not be one who's gonna bet a hand like, say, ace-10 or something like that for, ace-10 without a heart or something like that. I think he's just going to check that behind.
Your thought process is basically, I want to get a bet in here. He's not always going to see bet over cards, for example. I mean, I wouldn't see bet, king
Yeah.
or something. Hey, you have the gut to go along with it. You kind of want to trap everybody in, see what's going on. A little bit of an information play, a little bit of a value play kind of thing, basically.
Yeah, basically. I think if he does, my other option's check raising, but I think that if he fires on that flop, I'm pretty much always behind up, flipping a coin with a kind of really big draw.
Yeah, two big hearts or something.
Yeah.
It's interesting because if you check around to him, he bets, the guy, Rich Goose or whatever, does whatever, you check raise. I mean, a fairly common result is you're going to knock the 2 guys to your left out of the pot. All of a sudden, you've knocked out what might be some of the equity you wanted in there, assuming you're behind and you want to keep chasing.
Yeah.
Or you're drawing or whatever you want to call it. I say chasing, that's kind of a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Good players draw, bad players chase, right?
Yeah.
I think we all do that. And then, like you said, if this guy, TWTIA, does have a big hand, he's either going to 3-bet or go nuts. And it's not like we're in terrible shape with a pair and a gut, but if we know the other guy has us beat, we certainly want everyone else in there patting the pot for us.
Yeah.
So I think I tend to agree with you. This is kind of a cool spot for a donk, and those of you who work with me and who've seen my videos know that I don't tend to donk all that often into the pre-flop raiser, but I think this is kind of a cool spot for it. Would you also donk, say, a flush draw here?
I think that may be an option just because if I do have a flush draw, it's the same theory that we had before, whereas if he does fire and I check raise, then I'm just going to blow out the 2 people behind when most likely my draw is just simply hearts, whereas if you donk out, you can trap 2 in the middle and maybe build a bigger pot when you've got a much fairer share of the pot 4-way.
So it looks like our donking range might be somewhat wide here. The thing about donking also is that you can ideally trap 2 guys before it's the pre-flop raiser's turn to act.
Yeah.
Whereas when you check raise, there's only 1 guy trapped in between you.
Yeah.
The guy to your left, to your right, or whatever, this guy, Rich Goose.
And given just looking at the way he's played, he's 31-4. He's not exactly, it's a small sample size, but there's no guarantee he's going to call a follow-through bet from TWTIA there at all, really, apart from with a strong hand. So
I think this is a spot where I might donk I might donk flush draws. I might donk sets as well, actually.
Just a trap in the middle again, saying...
Yeah, basically, it's weird. It's weird to find a spot where I'm pretty comfortable donking most of my range. I mean, I'm obviously not donking air, right? But
Yeah.
I think this is a great spot to donk King 3 off. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if I would want... Well, what if you had something like Ace 8? Then would you donk or then would you check raise? I mean, I wouldn't say Ace 8 is wildly different than your hand as far as the strengths. I mean, the Ace 8 is a better pair, better kicker, but you don't have the gut shot like you do here.
The thing is, with Ace 8, there might also be a case where I've got the pre-flop raiser reverse dominated, and there's a possibility that he's going to call down with like Ace King, Ace Queen high.
Or if it rolls off on the turn, then you get to take everybody to town, yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of a cool spot. Okay, I'm at about 4:12 on the video, and I'm going to restart. Tell me when you're about ready, and we'll restart at the same time.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to hit the play button. You've donked out, and let's watch the first start to fly. One guy calls. Another guy folds. Okay, the pre-flop raiser does pop it up, and I agree with... I don't see any merit in 3-betting here, really.
No.
And he immediately takes the free card. Let me pause the action here. I'm at about 4:36 in my report.
Okay.
He takes the free card. What are you immediately putting him on, basically?
Basically, it's a big... I'm putting him on sort of an ace-high flush draw here almost always. I just can't see why he wouldn't bet the turn for value if he had an overpair. There's absolutely no reason for him to check behind with an overpair 3-way there. I
don't think, like, say, 10-9 is really in his range all that often.
I mean, he may have just raised something like Ace King just out of pure frustration, you know, just because he doesn't like being donked into or something like that. But
and you see a lot of folks at these limits just kind of raise and re-raise their overcards, play them over aggressively, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
So basically, on the river, we're pretty convinced we have the nuts, unless this guy to the left has somehow been sandbagging some big hand.
Yeah, unless he was planning on doing something with a 4 or something like that. I can't see.
Or he wanted to check raise a big hand, but
I don't give 73 notes much credit for check call, check raising. Really, usually.
Yeah, they usually throw a dunk in there at some point.
Yeah.
Basically, we think we have the nuts. I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button now at about 4:36, and we like to get money when we have the nuts. So you went out for the value bet, which I like perfectly. And let's see if anybody falls for your devious trap here. Any frustration calls with what I'm assuming is going to be ace high, right? And ace queen of hearts. Wow, look at that! Nice big combo, or nice big draw on the flop there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that hand worked out pretty well for us.
I think that. I think that once he does check behind on the turn there, he does turn his hand face up quite a lot. So he might be. I mean, what do you think of his call on the river there? Do you think it's just pure frustration? Because really, I should never be bluffing in that situation there.
Yeah, I think, like you said, he's built a big pot. You know, he probably realizes he's unlikely to be good. But some of these really tight players sort of make up for it unconsciously or not by showing down too often, you know? And I think in general we would agree that somebody who's not playing as many hands should be, like, in a vacuum showing down more to kind of balance that out.
Yeah.
So what happens is a lot of these guys show down overcards in pretty bad spots. Like there, I mean, to me your river bet looks like a value bet. To him, maybe he's putting you on some kind of misdraw, you know, hopeless kind of bluff.
Yeah, another missed flush draw or something.
Yeah,
like
I think the flush draw missed. There were a lot of middle East straight draws that missed. You know, I can't say if I were in his position that I would never call that river, you know? Like, from our point of view, it certainly looks like you're value betting, but from his point of view, he can probably legitimately put you on some missed stuff. Would you bluff that missed stuff into 2 other people on the river? Probably not, you know? But, what was the pot? Like 7 something? He was getting like 7 or 8 to 1 on the river probably, right? 9 to 1 you. So,
I mean,
I think your value bet is great, and that's the thing, is that it puts him to the tough decision. You know?
What do you think of his play overall? Because I mean, he raises the flop because he's got a huge amount of equity 3-way there with Ace Queen, really.
Yeah.
I mean, would you barrel the turn just for straight up value there, or do you think it's a check behind there?
Let me scroll back. Okay. Let me scroll back to the turn action here. I'm just so bad at scrolling, apparently. Okay, so it's going to play the flop action, and then I'm going to pause it and see what happens. And this is just going to be a long video that the folks at home are going to have to bear with us about, basically.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so I paused it on the turn here. All right, there's 765 in the pot on the turn. I'm playing it through. It goes, you check. This other guy checks. And see, he's snap check behind. He has 2 overcards, and he has the nut flush draw. He's going to hit the flush, a fifth of the time right there. If he hits one of his top pairs, he's going to have the best hand. I mean, his bet has got to be at least neutral and possibly slightly plus EV, right? I mean, I am really bad at doing all the calcs in my head, but I think we can agree it's pretty close, right?
I mean, if we just take even if we discount his overcard out somewhat, I think we're still looking at sort of 14, 15 outs for him, which gives him, according to the rule of 2, gives him about 25 to 28% equity. So
yeah, you combine that with the fact that he's in position and
he can take a free showdown if he wants to.
Yeah. And rarely, not rarely, but some of the time he'll have the best hand. You can certainly be donking out Jack 3 of hearts here, or Ace 6, every now and then. So at least a couple percentage points of the time he's going to have the best hand. I think all in all it's got to be pretty neutral, pretty close for him on the turn. The thing about checking behind is that it turns his hand face up, whereas if he did bet it, there'd be a lot more uncertainty about what he had, and it'd be harder to play against him on the river.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about kind of a not being easy to read kind of viewpoint, then maybe he could be betting the turn.
Yeah.
And again, it can't really not be for value. He doesn't have much fold equity, but he has a lot of outs, as you say. Even if you turn 8x face up, he has a ton of outs. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think I might almost be leaning toward a bet here. The problem is just when he insta checks behind, he turns his hand face up and lets you play perfectly against him on the river. I mean, if the river's a queen, you'd probably value bet is the problem, right?
Yeah.
But if the river were an ace, I don't think you'd bet.
No. Because his hand just looks so much like the ace-high flush draw when he checks behind.
Yeah, I mean, what is his range? Are we going to put him specifically on ace-king and ace-queen, or does he have a lot of ace-x?
I think he's... the thing is, he's raised 2 limpers as well, and given he looks as tight as he is, I think to be honest, his range is very tight on big aces.
Yeah.
Especially when he doesn't. Well, he did raise the flop, so basically he's on big aces and overpairs until he checks behind the turn, at which point he's on big aces pretty much exclusively.
So let's see what our river plan would be. We would check fold an ace. What would we do about a king or a queen? Bet fold? Check fold?
I think bet fold's probably the best line on a king or a queen, really.
No, I bet he doesn't even raise either. He probably puts us on trip fours or something.
Yeah, he probably puts us on trip fours or something when we bet. But
so if he managed to raise, we would fold, but we would probably just end up betting and getting called by. And as soon as he called, we would think, "Wow, we have the nuts," and then he would turn over the best hand.
Yeah, that's happened a lot recently.
I think we've talked this hand through pretty well. I think, hopefully some guys can discuss it in the thread. I think if I were him with the ace-queen of hearts, I probably would bet the turn. But I think we've certainly mathed it out enough to realize that it's got to be close. And a bet, certainly can't be bad by any means. So, where were we? We were somewhere in the next hand here.
It's about five minutes in.
Where you want to be here? About 5? Okay, I'm at about 5 minutes. You just raised ace-queen pre-flop, and everybody and their mother is calling you, basically.
Yeah.
Let's play through this hand. Talk to me about this. I mean, your flop c-bet is standard, and then keep going from there.
Yeah. I mean, that turn to me is just really bad.
Okay, let's pause it on the turn here for a sec. What turns are you betting? What turns are you not betting? That kind of thing.
I think basically the fact that it's a club and it puts a 4 straight out there just makes the... the thing is, I don't really, if you're looking at Jeb here, I really don't trust him at all. Yeah. Just from, his stats have disappeared on me at the moment, but just from...
These guys were like 70-20 or something like that.
I think he was more on sort of the 70-35 line, so, okay. So he's in more... And one hand that we did have, I should mention this, one hand that we did have before I started the camera with him, he... I think it's the note that I've got on him at the moment, is that he basically delay raised whenever he's had a big hand, he's had a couple of hands. I've had a couple of hands against him where he's basically done the old sort of play it fast when he's bluffing and wait until wait until later streets when he's got a big hand. I think he waited till the river with kings one hand. So it's
basically a tricky kind of loose player. We don't trust either one of them.
yeah.
Again, I mean, this is a pretty terrible turn card. I'm sure you'd be confident if it went, you check and it went bet call here. You'd be very happy pitching it in.
Yeah, I mean, even when someone calls her, I mean, I'm not looking, even with ace queen high, even with the gut shot, I'm not looking at, I'm not looking at a superb amount of equity here, really.
Oh, I agree. It's a bad card. Would you bet if you had ace of clubs, queen X here, probably?
I think if I had the ace of clubs here, the thing is that, like, Jeb could actually raise the turn. It's potentially could raise the turn with worse. And
so
that
you're
I could actually
sort of just trying to dodge. Basically, the idea is nothing. The things that are going to fold here are things that are already worse hands than ours.
Yeah, they're just hopeless, the hands that are going to fold here.
But the problem is that some random hands might raise and put us in tough spots, some of which we're beating.
Yeah.
So you kind of just want to check and see what happens, planning to fold most of the time if it goes bet call, or probably even if it goes check and this guy spunky rules bets, you're probably going to fold anyway, right?
I'm glad you said that before me.
Yeah, I spunk, whatever. I mean, we're mature, we can say it.
Spunk.
After what Sushi Glutton put me through in that series a little while ago.
I think that's fair enough.
I've grown up in a hurry, shall we say.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you're checking on this turn, planning to fold to a bet from anybody?
I think if it went bet from Jeb and fold from Spunky Rules, it'd be a quite difficult spot because he's perfectly capable of just betting because I've checked.
Yeah.
So, but I just think, I mean, even if he's just betting a lone club with two random cards, I'm not looking, it's not horrendously in my favour equity-wise. I mean, he's still got like a third, he's still got like that 30% equity line, even if he's just flat out bluffing a single club here.
Yeah, and again, I mean, maybe we're overthinking it. I'm sure somebody, let me adopt the mindset of a random viewer at home. Guys, this is like the easiest check fold ever. There's a 4 straight 3 flush board versus 2 loose players. The pot is small. We don't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm at about 520 on my copy. I'm going to hit play.
Yep.
You're with me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. And you do check, and it gets checked through. And I'm fairly certain on the river we have the nuts, but again, can't really value bet. I mean, you could value bet heads up probably.
Yeah, I think it would be thin, but I think I could value bet it heads up. Although the other thing that comes to mind is since I'm out of position, am I better checking, trying to get him to bluff something hopeless rather than just value betting my ace, hoping he's got an ace that can pay off. And of course, there's always the outside chance he takes like Jack 10 or something and shoves a raise down my throat, which I can't.
Yeah, it would be really, really weird if he decided to randomly raise the river because wouldn't put him on anything since he checked the turn through.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what comes up here.
But as I said, he's also the type who may very well wait if if he does actually have the flush. So it's it'd be a pretty nasty spot. He'd be more likely, in my mind, he'd have been more likely to bet the turn if he was bluffing.
Yeah. Maybe we might bet for value against a guy with a different set of stats and maybe check call almost with this guy, or even check fold. Still, pot's pretty small. Well, here's 10-9 of clubs, which is a hand that we all know we're going to play, no matter how many bets it is to us. So let's see how it plays out here. I'm being facetious, but I think everyone loves 10-9 suited as their favorite.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure what he can be peeling and then folding with on that flop. I mean, it's so dry.
I mean, 2 cards. I think it's a good turn to represent, as far as your range. It's a great turn card to barrel on. Obviously, an ace would be another good card to barrel on. I think I might have played that hand about the same versus almost anybody.
Yeah.
King 6 off here on the right table. Kind of goofy spot. He's so short stacked that really kind of skews things. I might have just gone ahead and bet the river myself, hoping he desperation calls with whatever.
Yeah.
The money's going in either way, so I can't imagine it's a big deal. He might. I mean, you could just as easily argue that he might bluff now that he's been checked to on the river. So
yeah. Might have been I mean, I mean, it's limit hold'em. I'm not tremendously used to paying attention to people's stack sizes, but it's something that I should have been doing now. I think I probably could have. Thing is, I think that, as you said, either way, the money's going in there, I think. So, it's
Yeah, I
not.
mean, it's just me looking for little spots to nitpick about, but that's what Deuce's Cracked wants me to do, right? So.
Yeah.
All right, I like the ISO here with Queen 9 suited on the left for a couple of reasons. I mean, it can't be terrible value-wise, and also it's you and a bunch of guys who aren't very good, so we don't really mind playing a bigger pot against them. We're somewhat in position.
Yeah. Especially when we flop 2-pair.
Yeah, especially because you're going to flop 2-pair, and I like the turn 3 bet because this guy's a maniac, obviously.
Yeah.
Gross river card, and I'm assuming that we get shown... Oh, absolutely nothing. Must be nice.
Yeah.
What's it like to be a boomer, and how does he not have anything? I don't get it.
No, I didn't get it either. When he turned that over, I was actually expecting to see something like 10-3 or something.
Yeah, I was expecting that he rivered you, not that he turned you.
Yeah.
Against a normal player, we would assume he turned us. Against this guy, we would assume he rivered us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 3-betting the turn versus almost anybody, to be honest. But this guy is such a lag bot that it's a no-brainer. I definitely like to play there. And yeah, the hand on the right looked like you opened a couple of hands on the right there, and everyone just folded to you.
Yeah.
And it looks like you continue to run pretty well so far in this video. You flopped the toppest pair with the toppest kicker. Just insta-calling down with, what, an worst queen, I guess? Who knows?
There was actually something regarding this hand that I wanted to... Is there any merit to check raising at some point? Because what I was looking
All right, let me pause it. All right, go on.
What I was looking at with this guy is this guy's been extremely tight, and also when he has been involved a couple of hands ago, he 3-bet. Obviously, Jebivita took 3 to the face, and then he just made his continuation bet and then just check folded. So
okay, so
he
we're
just
on.
seems like he's.
I scrolled back to the river so we can see the board here.
Yeah. He just seems like he's the type of player who really isn't continuing unless he does have a piece of the board somewhat. So I mean, and to be honest,
so you're
I think
thinking you want to check raise the river to check the river to induce from all the misdraws that are out there, basically.
Well, that plus I think top pair is actually quite a big part of his range, and obviously I've got top pair, top kicker.
Yeah, I mean, we would have heard from 9x previously, definitely.
Yeah.
The thing is, we don't have a lot of stats on him, and he's not an aggressive type player. I mean, he looks like a nitty player from what we've seen so far. Am I reading this right? That he's 9-4?
Yeah,
only
9-4.
He doesn't seem like the kind of player who's doing a lot of betting ever, or raising.
Mm.
I think if he has a queen, he's certainly going to be able to value bet a queen. I think that's the only real made hand he's betting. I feel like if he had a smaller hand, like 6s or 8s or something, he probably wouldn't be able to pull the trigger on this river. He would probably just check.
Okay.
Well, wait, isn't he first to act, or am I misreading the action?
Yes, he is first. Oh, am I in the...
That'd be great. Did we just talk...
Oh, no, sorry, I'm wrong at that. I'm wrong at that one. I'm under the gun. He's in the big blind, so I can't check raise him at that point.
Great. Well, we can talk about it anyway. Let's just assume we are out of position.
Yeah.
Take it in style, or Joe Tall style. We'll change that 4 to a deuce.
Yeah.
Let's assume we're out of position here. Say this guy is 29-24 and a little frisky. I might go for a check raise here because I think there's a lot of missed stuff in his range, or worse, Queen X's. Although we might have heard from Queen X. I mean, 29-24 would have probably popped us on the flop.
Yeah.
This guy is so passive and so tight and so nitty and whatever you want to call him, even though it's a small sample. I really don't trust him to bet all that much stuff. And I do think that he might call down with like an ace high or whatever that he wouldn't bet for sure. You know?
Yeah.
So at these stakes, I tend to just value bet people to death and not really try and get over fancy without a really specific read.
Yeah.
This guy's stats would suggest to me that he's not the kind to really want to fling in thin value bets, so I would probably just put the bet in myself against this kind of player.
Yeah.
If it were against the player to your left, I mean, you would have put in 20 bets already because he's a moron, but okay, I don't want to say moron in case he's watching. We disagree with his style of play. Jebai, if you ever join Deuces Cracked, I'll give you a free lesson. What do you say? But he's the kind of player who would have all kinds of, Jack 4 or whatever in his range on the river and would fling a bet in probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, against this kind of player, I just want to put the bet in against this guy B Don. I want to put the bet in myself, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the surest way I know of getting the bet to go in is to do it myself.
Yeah.
And it looks like he did end up showing the... Oh, so he did have a worse queen. We may be being a little results-oriented then, since that's turned up with. So I'm playing it again. I'm about at 9:35 or so on my copy.
Yeah, same here.
All right. It's good that we end up about the same time.
Yeah.
And I have a little note coming up here in about 20 seconds. I want to see if anybody catches it. So I'm going to let it go through. And this will be a first little quiz for you guys at home. Start watching. Not that you weren't already watching, but whatever.
No, you never know.
Yeah.
Soothing voice or no?
Yeah, soothing voice. And, okay, that was the spot. Did any of you guys catch it at home? I'm sure some of you did. Wow, we should do some kind of, like, real-time quiz, like a choose-your-own-adventure, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
If you raise, go to video 4. If you fold, go to 82. I used to love those books as a kid. Do you remember those?
I do remember those, yeah.
There's always something really improbable about, like, time travel or something.
Yeah, and usually ended up dead from whatever you chose.
Oh, yeah, I used to just get so frustrated I would flip through all the back pages to find the one where you won. Because over and over a snake would bite me and I would die or something like that. I'm going to scroll back, and again, this is a nitpicky thing, but hopefully this is why I like to consider myself a decent coach. But where are we? Here, it's coming up now. On the left table, we are going to be dealt. I had 10-7 off, I believe.
Yep.
And Boomer did something which I wrap my students on the wrist for just a little bit, which is he auto-checked the fold box there. Certainly, I think we can agree that if a couple guys limp, that this is an easy completion, right?
Yeah.
So that was just a little nitpicky thing I wanted to get after you for, because we like playing pots with bad players. We've got a connecty hand. There are some scenarios here when we're going to be clicking the call button. If this guy B Don over limped, I would probably click the call button, to be honest. If he folded, I would probably convince myself to click the call button because the two guys to our left are both bad, right? So,
yeah.
That's just a little nitpicky thing. If you guys caught it, give yourselves a pat on the back. I don't really like using the auto-fold buttons ever, especially if you're two-tabling. I mean, what's the point? It's not like you're pressed for time. If you're 20 tabling, okay, fine, but here at Deuces Cracked, we don't really recommend that to begin with. So, and I'll hit the play button here. Yeah, how you holding up so far on the video here?
Pretty good.
All right, we're through 10 minutes of the 42, which is a pretty good pace. This is only going to be about a 4-hour-long video.
Oh, that's shorter than we thought.
Yeah, my one with Jay Beastie was 2 hours. I promise, guys, that we may chop this one in half or something, so you get a chance at home not to pass out from exhaustion. Here's a suited little something on the right. Let me pause it here. I'm going to go back to the pre-flop decision and pause it. What kind of ranges are auto calls for you here? Are auto folds among the suited cards? What do you do here?
I think if I'm looking for some, I mean, Jack 3 is about as bad as it gets, really, from what I'm calling here. That's right at the bottom of my range.
I would submit this is one of the, assuming we're using the category of suited cards, this is a pretty bad suited hand.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it does have some high card value with the Jack, so, three-way pair of Jacks is still going to hold a bit of value, especially if it's top pair. Getting 5-1. I think it may have some of it may have come from the fact that the open raiser on the button seems to be playing really straightforward at the moment. But I think this is a pretty loose call on my behalf, really, especially against two guys who aren't, they're not terribly bad. They do know. It looks like they have some grasp of what they're doing. So I think that it's probably a bit
tight rather than answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you of the school of thought or your play style? Do you call any two suited here, or are there some suited that you would fold?
No, I think it takes 7-1 before I start calling any two suited.
So four-handed basically.
Yeah. I think generally if I'm three-way, I'm looking for either any kind of connectivity or like high card value. So 10-3 would be a muck, 9-3 is a muck. But I think it was just the fact that I can make top pair with a Jack, and there might just be enough. Might be able to ring this guy for enough post flop that I can that I may be able to turn it slightly profitable, but then again I'm dealing with very high rake at 0.51, so that probably turns it from sort of marginal into losing anyway, just because I'm dealing with sort of 4 big bets per 100 rake playing 0.51.
Yeah, you kind of echoed a lot of thoughts that I have as well, which is that the rake, I think, is a little bit of a factor. If both these guys were like 99-40, then okay, I'd call, because they're so bad, we know they're going to go off for a million bets post-flop if you flop something. But neither of these players seem like the type that are just going to... You know what I'm saying? We don't have a ton of implied odds with our pair action going on here.
Okay.
I don't play any two-suited in this spot. I know Oink is about to bust through the wall like a little guy. I'd say, oh, yeah, you know... I really need to make a Photoshop of that somehow. But, I mean, what would... Jack 7 suited, easy call, because we've got the straight thing going on. 8 deuce suited, I would fold here always, because it's just, if we hit a pair, we're going to have a crappy kicker, and it's not going to end up being top pair very often, you know? Jack 3, I would probably muck in this, like you said, a high-rake environment, relatively tightish players. It's certainly not a big deal, but Limit Hold'em is all about discussing all those marginal situations to death, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think given 5-1, I call pretty much any suited ace and probably any suited king as well, and sort of suited queens.
Yeah, king 3 of diamonds here, and I'd call as well.
Yeah.
So, again, not a big deal. I just kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit on this. Let me go ahead and hit the play button. I don't remember if this hand... I'm at about 10:30, by the way, on my recording. I don't remember if this hand turns into anything or not. Doesn't look like it's going to.
No. Flop precisely nothing.
Yeah. Luckily, we have a suited ace on the other table, also in diamonds, to take our...
It's quite interesting, actually, in that Jack 3 hand, that Rich Goose just donked straight out on the flop, and TW just immediately folded on the ace-king, ace of hearts, king of hearts, 5 of hearts flop.
Maybe Rich Goose saw that TW took the free card a couple hands back and wanted to bet his ace right away.
Maybe, but you'd imagine that most would actually continue. He still would have continuation back there, I thought, but maybe.
Yeah, it's a good bet. It's a good board to continuation on, certainly, the mono boards. Let me rewind just a little bit, because it looked like you had a nice hand here. I'm back to about 10:40, and we'll look at the left hand. You have the ace and the 7 of diamonds, and standard c-bet, and then what happens from there?
Right, so we turn a pair in position.
I mean, you've got to think you've turned the nuts against this guy, basically.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, he's peeling that flop with sort of any single spade, in my opinion, any 2 over cards.
Yeah, king 10, whatever, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of... I mean, he might raise king 10 on this turn, thinking he can get me off, but it's... I think it's pretty standard value bet here. I don't think I can value check at all in this position against this guy. There's too much value, really, I think, to get in a bet in.
You can't check the turn. I mean, you're giving any hand with a spade a free shot at the river. You know? And, all kinds of open-enders that'll also happily call your bet, or even set.
Yeah.
5 off on the turn, because why not, you know?
Yeah.
Once he checks on the river, I'm assuming if he leads the river, you're just calling and not really liking it. But
yeah, I'm calling and hating it, but I've got 2 pair against a guy who's completely untrustworthy, so...
If he checks you, I would fire in the value bet with impunity, same as you, and it's unfortunate that he had that he got there with his nuts, but I think he played things great.
Yeah, I mean, I think any 4, any 8, any 9 there, with or without a spade. He may have had a 9 planning to raise the turn, as we discussed. He might have been planning to delay it and then saw the spade come and got scared of it. I mean, I think there's plenty...
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of hands there that I'm beating on the river.
Oh, I think it's a great value bet. It's great when they muck. You feel like you run the world, but it sucks when they call. But the pot is so big. That guy might even call with high card king. Who knows?
Yeah. And guys who show down so 60% of the time, you know.
Yeah. This guy's looking for an excuse to see your hand, you know.
Yeah.
The river. I'm at about 11:50 in my video, by the way. So, I'm playing again. And I know we're going to get to a hand in about half an hour. Or half an hour.
Half an hour.
I know that you guys will get to take a break in half an hour. I mean, I can't see value checking that turn with the A7 ever. I mean, it's just a protection and a value issue for me. You're betting what's often the best hand, and at the same time, you don't want to give a free card to all the draws that will call.
Well,
So
if he's peeling with a single spade there, if I value check there, I'm essentially telling him that it's the correct manoeuvre. You know, if I'm value checking pairs back there, I'm essentially making his move correct.
yeah, you guys got to punish these guys and hang on for the ride. I'm going to pause it here for a sec. Scroll back to about 12 minutes or so, and we'll play it from there.
Yep.
There's going to be a hand coming up on the right with Queen Jack of Diamonds that I want the folks at home to take a look at, because I think this is a common spot we get into pretty often. And I'll pause it. Okay, so you raise pre-flop, and then I'll pause it on the flop once the guy donks into you, and we'll have a little discussion, all right?
Okay.
Okay, so we raise in the cutoff, the button cold calls, small blind calls, and leads out. I'm going to pause it here at 12:23. What are your thoughts when he leads out here?
I mean, I don't know anything about the player, for one. The fact he's just cold called from the small blind could mean a bit, because don't know how much it could mean, because there's already been a cold caller there, so he could feel like he could have cold called quite profitably with sort of suited connector hands, low pairs, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, he has a short stack, and he over cold called.
Yeah.
I see he only has 1 star here, which means he's not a grinder.
No.
Let's assume for the sake of argument, and this could be wrong, but whatever, that he's probably not great, and that he probably has a wide range. I think that those are fair assumptions, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What are your thoughts here as regarding whether you call or you raise?
Really, I'm looking at, I mean, to be honest, I'm looking at his range here, and I think a lot of it's sort of weak pairs. But the board's so wet on that one. I mean, there's flush draws, there's straight draws, there's everything at this point in time. Looking at it now, I mean, I know what move I made at the time, but
just to see what you do here.
Yeah.
For the folks at home. All right, so you mashed the call button, and the guy behind us on the button calls too, and I paused it again. Go ahead, keep going. It sounded like you were going to say something there.
I mean, I think that, I mean, I know, as I said, I called, but I think that if I had a hand that was on the lower end of the spectrum, I'd probably be more happy calling, just because if I had a hand like 7-8, I'd be happier calling, because there's no way, it's sort of a pair of sevens, etc. doesn't do me any good, so all my equity comes from my draw, so I'm happier getting overcalls, whereas in this situation where I've got 2 overcards in addition to my straight draw, and there's always the possibility that if he does have a hand like a 5 and I raise and the river does come with a spade on, that I might be able to pick up sort of false, I might be able to get a false fold from him or something like that. And also my queen and jack can be good. I think that the hand would probably play best heads up, so I might be in a better position raising here.
Yeah, my thought process on this hand, I mean, and again, I think this is a good hand to talk about, because all of us find ourselves in this spot pretty often, I fairly strongly prefer a raise here the first time I saw it, and I still do. Here's something also. The guy behind us is short-stacked and very loose passive. If he has any piece, he's going to call 2 just as easily as he's going to call 1.
Yeah.
I assume any flush draw, any straight draw, gut, or open-ender, probably a lot of pairs, he's calling 2 with anyway. So I'm happy to raise, because the guy behind is coming, either he's coming along for 2 or he's not really coming along for 1. I mean, he might come along for 1 with like king 8 or something. Who knows how bad he is? But a lot of his range he's calling 2 with here. Let's put the guy donking into us on a 10, for example, which I think is probably toward the top end of his range.
I think that's right at the top end of his range, really, there.
And even worst case scenario, he has a 10. I mean, worst case is like he has a set, but let's just put him on a 10. Yeah. We have overs and an open-ender, 3-way. So we're basically flipping, value-wise, right?
Yeah.
The fact that the guy behind us is often to pad the pot by calling 2. The fact that by raising we're also, somewhat disguising our hand, not that that makes a big difference against these guys who don't seem super observant, but it also means that, say he has a big hand and we hit our straight on the turn, we're likely to get multiple bets in. We can value bet our queen or jack on either big streets pretty much with impunity. Obviously, if we hit our straight, we're happy. A lot of times when the board rolls off a certain way, we can continue and try and bluff. Say it rolls off spade, spade or something. We can try and bluff, and maybe this guy will fold a pair of 10s. So basically, and we can also obviously take a free card if both people call. So I think raising sort of increases our options in the hand. We can value bet a lot of turns. We can take a free card on a lot of turns. We get the pot heads up. that's obviously not bad because it means we're more likely to win the pot versus three guys.
Yeah.
If we don't get the pot heads up, it means the guy behind us has called two bets with not very much, which is also good. So
Yeah, he could have a draw that we've got just completely crushed, basically. So it's
yeah, that was kind of a monologue. I just realized I went on there, but I almost think of it as we're increasing our implied odds in a way. Like we're building a pot with a pretty big hand in position versus two bad players. I mean, we're not in position, but we have position on the donk.
And to be honest, we don't mind if he folds because we've got a hand we don't mind if we get one fold because we've got a hand that's got enough equity to stand it heads up anyway. So
yeah, I mean, most guys donk here, and it means like I have a weak pair or I have a weak draw or something like that, right? So in general, I tend to advocate whenever there are two decisions that are about the same in EV, taking the more aggressive one, because it's good for our image and metagame and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I probably think raising has a better EV than calling here anyway. So maybe we can get some discussion going about this hand in the thread in this video. I think. I'll go ahead and play the hand out. I'm at about 12:30 on my video, just so you know. All right, so we do call and we miss. And I don't think just the classic free card play can really be overestimated. I mean, obviously at higher stakes, people know about that play, but I think it still works a fair bit of the time at the stake, right? So would end up seeing the river for half a bet less, which is always nice.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just watch a couple hands here, and I'll take a break from talking, and I'll let you tell some jokes, narrate, and so on.
Don't know, there's a huge amount that I've got in the locker, to tell you the truth. A couple too many member videos been done recently, so I'm running a bit short on material.
This is the thing. Every time I make a joke, it's kind of like, well, nobody's laughing. Maybe they're laughing at home, but I'm never going to find out about it. But I don't even know why I just told that anecdote. But the thing is, it doesn't really shame me anyway. I just keep talking. So here's a pocket sevens hand on the left. Thoughts on three betting versus folding versus whatever here?
I think even though I am up against a tight range here from, I wanted to call him douche wannabe for a minute then, but...
I would say, I think Dan's a smack, in Dan's a smack's honor. Let's call him douche wannabe.
Okay. Basically, I think even though he's got a pretty tight range looking at, and I think pocket sevens does well enough against that. So he's going to have a lot of sort of big ace hands, things like that I can take the hand away from him just through combination calcs. You can see that he's got, he's going to have hands that are just going to miss the board a lot of the time that I'm going to take it down on.
It's sort of the classic, like, his range is maybe a little stronger because he's tight, but he probably doesn't show down quite enough either because he's tight. So the two things kind of cancel out, and it comes down to how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I would point out the guy to our left is not very likely to fold anything.
Yeah.
Again, we don't really hate playing. We have sevens. We have a good hand. We don't really hate playing. So.
And if we do hit, the 1 in 8 times we do hit a set, he's going to go off for God knows how many bets, and it's just a shame there's a cap on the site, really.
All right, guys, we're back. Had a little audio snafu. I was just telling Boomer that I'm much happier three-betting sevens here than a hand like King Jack off, where, I mean, we could be dominated even though it's roughly about the same value-wise. When I say roughly, I mean very widely. But if we get action with our King Jack, we're less happy about it, So the sevens have much easier, playability. Basically, it's easier to play, like you said. We do flop a set, we're going to get paid 1 million bets by one or both players. And on a lot of flops, say he has King-Queen, on a lot of ace-XX flops, I'm sure he gives up right away as opposed to peeling, which is a bonus for us.
Yeah.
Turn up your volume a little, will you? I want to make sure we're good here.
Just hang on a second.
I'll keep talking, just testing through. But yeah, basically, I like the 3-bet. I think it's close. I think fives we're probably mucking, yeah?
Yeah.
And then obviously the flop we were looking for, or the droids. Wow, when he pops here, I pretty much just want to fold right away.
Yeah, I was not happy at all about the fact that he popped there. I mean,
at best he's got like 2 overs and a flush draw. At worst, he's got a bigger pair. So.
Yeah, I think that an over pair or sort of a hand like Ace Jack's just a really big part of his range here to be popping there. I mean, even if he does just have the 2 overs and the flush draw, we're only flipping a coin against that range.
Yeah, and then throw the other guy in the pot in there with his random equity, and we're not doing too well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't value bet the river there with his tens. I mean, he should realize this guy, Jedi Feeder, is just way out there
Yeah.
in left field.
I noticed how Jebby whiffed on his expert check raise there. So
Standard.
he's been going to the Pygmy Hero school of check raising, obviously.
Yeah, I hope we're not offending one of Entity or Pygmy Hero students here. By the way, I've always wanted to know, what is your avatar? Can you tell the folks at home?
If anyone
Looks
is,
like a man on fire.
it basically is. If anyone's familiar with the Homestar Runner comics, there's not comics, it's a web comic. There's basically a Halloween episode where this demon, whatever it is basically a horrible painting that's been around for ages, and someone, as part of a Halloween decoration, they do photos for the site for Halloween, and someone did a cutout of this thing in pumpkin form, and just put the fire behind it. So since then I've used it as an avatar. Sometimes it gets recognised, but not. It doesn't get recognised a huge amount.
Got internet, so to speak.
Yeah. Friend of mine who uses uses an avatar from the site, but his is a character called the Cheat, so it gets recognised a bit more.
Well, and it's pretty convenient how we just managed to fill that dead time with the discussion of your avatar, huh?
Yeah, pretty good. It's smooth work.
Almost like we planned it out. Here on the left, I see you've got the ace and the 9, and everybody's in there so far.
Mm.
I can see I'm at about 16:15 in my video.
Yeah.
I can see you moving your mouse around, and you accidentally misclicked on the fold button, I think. What happened there?
Basically,
Go back to
got it here. Basically, I mean, I acknowledge who I should be calling, but what I was looking at was...
I mean, I shouldn't taint everybody's mindset ahead of time by saying you misclicked on the fold button. I'm just kidding.
I mean, what was going through my mind here were a couple of things. I mean, number one, I think I'm dominated pretty much always, just for one thing, because, I mean, we've got Jeb and Spunky rules already in the pot. Now we've discussed in the past how, with two limpers we'd raise sort of Jack 10, 9, 10 suited hands like that just to build a nice pot in position and take it down. I don't think this guy's not shown me anything that would tell me that he's capable of doing that.
So we're putting Dushwan on a pretty big hand.
Yeah, basically for raising when two people have already limped, I think his range for that is sort of ace 10 suited plus, ace jack plus, and like probably sort of, I think 9s are the absolute bottom of his range. I wouldn't hesitate to say 10s plus here.
Okay, so we're not doing well against that guy. I would argue that there's just so much dead money in this pot. We're getting such a great price. And, I mean, you know me, and I got this some from Oink and some from other guys. There are going to be 2 terabad guys in this pot. We really want to be in there with them. Like you said, we do have to worry about domination, but I can think of so many much worse hands that we would happily immediately call with here, like, say, 7-6 off or 8-7 off, right? That ace-9 off, even if you add in the domination issues, we've got to be doing at least as well as an 8-7 off kind of thing, right? You see what I'm talking about there? Like, add in the domination issues, and it must bring us down to about that level, but that's still a playable level.
I mean, obviously there's a very minor issue that one of the guys behind might decide just to go crazy and 3-bet it, at which point I could end up facing a 4-bet, but that's a very small...
If it's forward, then I think I might actually fold, because we've gotten a lot more info about Dushwan if he decides to 4-bet it. But, and again, the fact that you're aware of the fact that you're probably behind Dushwan and that he's got I hope he's not a Deuces Crack a Deuces Crack subscriber, by the way. Guys, I'm just trying to be cool like Danza Smack, because everyone's been blowing up my spaceship lately, to tell you the truth. Kind of got me ticked off, and I really just want some attention for a while. You're aware of the fact that you could be dominated, which means when it comes ace 4-4, you're not going to put in 14 bets post-flop. So I think it's okay to make this call pre-flop getting such an amazing price, and then just keep yourself in check post-flop if things start to get out of hand.
Yeah.
You're not the typical, well, I don't want to say typical, but you're not the player who's going to flop ace 4-4 and just go nuts on all streets. So I think that means that you're able to make this pre-flop call profitably because of that post-flop knowledge. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also on the 9-9 ace flop, we get well, obviously we get a million bets. On the 9-9-10 flop, we get a million bets from everybody.
Yeah.
So for the ace-9, whatever, we get a million bets from ace-king. So
Yeah. Unless it's ace-king-9, at which point we have trouble.
yeah, that's typically how I run. Right? But
yeah, as you can see, I flop trip aces, so at this point the keyboard's going out the window until he raises.
Oh, did you flop trips, or are you just saying that?
Yeah, it's ace. Well, it's ace. The flop's ace-7. So.
Oh, I'm a little behind you there.
Right.
Oh, you did flop trips. Yeah, so obviously it was an easy pre-flop call. How did we not see that?
Well, you don't know what he's showing down yet.
PS7. Well, we only announced it.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Not 3. Don't listen to me for strategy, guys. Boomer and I just do this.
He shows down the ace-queen there. But
I think you're ahead of me on the... Pause your video for a second. Let me catch
done that.
But we can go back and forth. I think pre-flop, I mean,
Yeah.
he has ace, has a 9, and everyone's in there, and they all suck.
Yeah.
We were terribly dominated, as you said, but we would have sucked out for the chop, which is sweet. Funky Rules was drawing dead the whole time and put in money for us.
Yeah.
All right, so
that's the thing there where
go ahead.
So that's the thing there where the guy, he, as you mentioned, the guy bets out, gets raised on an ace-7 ace board against a range as strong as that, and still goes ballistic on the river when he hits his 7, despite the fact his opponent's got an ace always there.
And he's got full house. What do you want him to do?
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, I mean that just kind of illustrates my point about these guys just are walking implied odds factories. If you hit, you just know they're going to give you the money. So,
yeah.
And you were getting what, like?
It was 7-1 immediate and 11 total, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can expect to be getting like 10 or 11-1 pre-flop. I mean, don't worry about a limp re-raise as being something that's going to happen so often that you need to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm about at 17-10. You've got an ace-king, and I'm ready to hit play.
Yep.
Caught up with me here? All right, I'm playing. And ace-king, I'm assuming that this guy's just going to fold the flop or the turn. I don't remember this hand specifically. But we have some filler time to fill.
Yeah. No, he peels, but I think worse ace-highs are a big part of his range here as well, so...
Oh yeah, I think he played fine standard for sure. You're just betting for value on the turn.
Yeah.
Bet fold, I'm assuming, against that guy.
Against him, yeah. I don't think he's capable of turning his hand into a bluff. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I mean, he might very well be capable of it, but I haven't seen anything that would set off alarm bells in me thinking, oh my god, this guy's bluffing when he raises me on the turn.
Yeah, I mean, if one of the guys to your left raised you on the turn, you'd probably be like, showdown. Or
yeah.
The river. That guy has a 10 or better always, and you're probably not getting the right price. Douche one, I'm top you there. My secret notes tell me we've got about 30 seconds more, at least, filler to fill. So go for it. Good luck.
Basically looking at, as you can see, my usual, what's happened to me usually has happened on the right, and that's that I've ended up with loose players on my left and tight players on my right here. But basically at this point, what I was thinking of at the tails when I did get in this situation was that the other players aren't really causing me any sort of, even though they're in the wrong position, they're not really causing me any sort of adverse difficulty at the moment. So I was quite happy with the table, although I was looking, you might see me a couple of times just looking around to see if I can get a better seat on another table at some point. I do at least try and game select, even though every video I've done for this site seems to have me in a pretty bad position on the table.
Well, here's your king jack on the right. Yeah. You finally got a hand. And yeah, I mean, what you say is correct. Like, it's always great to have the ideal seat at tables, with the tags to our left, the fish to our right. It's not always going to happen. When everyone at the table is, between bad and marginally bad, it doesn't really matter what seat you have. I mean, it matters, but it's still going to be plus AV.
Yeah.
And here, what this guy has been leading out into on all streets, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I raise the flop and he still leads out on the turn, I'm feeling pretty unhappy with life, but got top pair there. There's plenty of draws he can try and be double bluffing there. I mean, it'd probably be quite bad of him to try and bluff. I mean, I was surprised he tried to bluff into us. Yeah.
Pick up open-ended on the turn, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty surprised that he donked on the flop there, really, because he was donking into a dry side pot. and because we've already got someone all in, so he's essentially betting to win very little.
Yeah, I mean, he missed a pretty easy check raise there. You obviously have a hand you're going to be betting it.
Yeah, on the turn he's missed a check raise there.
Yeah, once he double donks, I mean, you're saying you pretty much aren't worried about a king or whatever, and then he bets anyway. So he's saying he's got at least 2 pair plus a fair bit of the time.
Yeah.
I think you played the hand. Now we got some pocket kings over on the left, and we're hoping to get someone to Bisley spew versus us, basically.
Yep.
Nice flop, obviously, and you just get called, and I like your value bet on the turn, and I like your value bet on the river, which I'm perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, he'll have an ace there some of the time, but he'll have worse some of the time, too.
I mean, I'm not...
Yeah, nice.
Ooh, Queen 10. Okay, so...
Oh, I think I've got a bit ahead of you. I'll pause it for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I think once you decide to 3-bet the big there, you just 3-bet regardless of position at these stakes, just assuming you're pushing value edges, basically?
It depends a lot on the player, but there aren't that... I mean, usually, we hear quite a bit about, just calling from the small blind, but there are very few players, I think, at 0.51 who you gain more from balancing your range against than you do from actually just straight up 3-betting them for value.
Yeah, so you just take your value whenever you can, basically. I tend to agree with it at these stakes. Once we get you up to 5-10, we might flat some there, or depending on the player or whatever, which should be in a couple months, guys. For those of you watching at home, watch out for Boomer. I'm at about 20:51 on my video, and I'm going to scroll back a bit to make sure I'm at the same time as you.
Okay.
All right, I'm at 20:37. I'm going to hit play now. Oh, no, that's too soon. Not at 20:37. All right, I'm at about 20:41. You've got 7-6 in the small blind.
Okay.
Play out this hand. Yeah, hopefully I'm not giving anybody epilepsy at home from all the scrolling I'm doing. Maybe the DC lawyers will tell me I can't joke about epilepsy in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I think bet fold. Okay, fine. This guy is going to have something or get there a fair bit of the time, and the pot is pretty small, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be my first level thinking. Which
I mean, I don't like doing it a huge amount against this guy, to tell you the truth. But I think that with a kicker as weak as that, for one thing, plus he's got 15 outs most of the time, even if he's bluffing there. So
yeah, and even if I had a6, I might want to show down there, or sevens, pair higher than sevens, probably.
Yeah,
definitely not second pair type of hand.
Yeah, also the fact that as I said, with the note I ended up on him, he will also delay raise very strong hands. So it's perfectly logical that he could have flopped a flush there and just waited till the turn. So
yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, and again, it's small pot. Even if we know the guy is a semi-bluff, it's just on the river, it gets there, and are we just going to fold rivers when the next flush card comes in, or are we going to talk ourselves into calling anyway because he's so maniac he could have something worse still, you know? So it's just sort of saving ourselves some trouble on the...
And it may be the fact that he's already done a spew or two against me and they haven't worked, so, if you think on that level, he might decide not to, but I don't know if he's thinking like that. He might just be thinking, it's got to work sometime.
Yeah. I just noticed we're about halfway through the vid. What do you say we pause it for a sec and see how we're doing on time? And we may want to split this into 2 parts.
Yeah, we're up to about 65 minutes so far.
Oh, 65 is good. We'll stop for now, and I'll pause the video, and we'll come back and start again somewhere at the middle of this Queen 9 of Diamonds hand, about 22 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll stop recording for now, and guys, thanks for watching part 1 of this video, and hopefully there'll be a part 2 coming out at the same time or soon to follow. Boomer, any last comments before I talk to you again?
No,